Okay, folks, there's a Hollywood movie about it. John Cusack is in it, so you've heard of all the prophecies, of course, that tell us December 21st, not of this year, but in 2012, the world will come to an end, or at least as we know it. Our guest today is Dr. Robert Thiel. He's the author of a book called 2012 and the Rise of the Secret Sect, a revolutionary spiritual and physical survival guide for 2012 through 2020. In this, he has listed nearly 1,000 prophecies. Some are biblical, some are non-biblical. Some talk of the consequences of 2012, and today he is joining Tim and myself. He's going to share with us something amazing that no one has told us before. Several world events that have already taken place in this year since the book's been out, directly aligned with several of the 2012 predictions listed in his book. So without any further ado, let us please welcome in Dr. Robert Thiel. How are you doing today?
Fine. Thanks for having me on.
Now, the book came out, what, August?
Actually, September was released.
September. Okay, so a couple of months down the road, and according to you, some of the events leading up to the destruction of the world of 2012 have already happened, come aligned. So what are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about, now the book, of course, doesn't talk about the world necessarily ending in 2012, but what the book does say is the book lines up prophecies, both biblical and non-biblical prophecies. And I was surprised to find out, right after the book was released, how many world events have actually started to happen that are lining up as predictions in the book.
Wait, so, the Super Bowl's still a couple of weeks away. You just want to tell me the winner now so I can make some money and live it out the next couple of years in the high life?
I don't find that in biblical and prophecy. So,
well, I don't know. It's a religion to some people, but okay, specific. Get specific with me. What has happened that make us, or should make us believe that you know something?
Well, for example, the book was actually released on the 6th of September. On September 7th, the Wall Street Journal reported that the United Nations the day before, they had a panel that recommended that the U.S. dollar be dropped as the world's reserve currency. In Chapters 7 and 8 and Appendix B of my book, I comment that the U.S. dollar basically will no longer be the world's reserve currency.
Okay, lucky shot. Okay, everybody knew that. Everybody knew that. My kid's 11 and said that. Okay. Give me something else. Come on.
All right, the next one then. My book specifically says that the Church of Rome is going to compromise and do whatever it takes in order to get Protestants and Eastern Orthodox to ultimately join with a changed ecumenical religion that will come out of the Vatican. Now, on October 20th of this year, CNN reported that the Vatican announced that it would allow Anglicans, which are also American Episcopalians, to become part of the Church of Rome. They don't have to change any of their practices. They don't have to change their rituals. They can keep their same liturgy. They can even keep the same priests, and the priests can be married, and they can therefore be Catholic. And while my book does not specifically say that on October 20th the Anglicans are going to be given an unprecedented offer from the Vatican, my book specifically does say to watch out for changes coming from the Vatican that will get them to entice people from other religions to join them.
Okay, Dr. Thiel, the prophecies in the book, these are not your predictions. So you are not the one that made this original prediction. Where did it come from?
These particular predictions come from both biblical, Catholic, and Eastern Orthodox prophecies.
And where does one go to research and find these prophecies? I mean, can't somebody just write something in a book and call it a prophecy?
Well, I suppose they could, but in our particular case, like in my book, I quote the actual prophecies, and I have the citations so people can look them up. But basically, the biblical ones, of course, come from the Bible. The Catholic and Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox prophecies usually come from priests or mystics or saints that of those particular faiths. Generally speaking, the predictions, especially if they're from a Roman Catholic source, a lot of them come from books which have an imprimatur, which means it's an official permission by a Roman Catholic bishop in order to print this particular prophecy. So this is not Joe Catholic down the street had a dream yesterday, and I wrote it in here.
He said that masses won't always be spoken in Latin. Wait, that happened. Wait a second here. What about the end of the world that has supposedly happened 6 or 7 times in just the last 12 years? There's always somebody standing on the corner saying, "The world's coming to an end. Everybody invest in Dow," or something like that. How do we know this is it?
Well, interestingly, before I wrote this book, probably my biggest claim to fame on the prophetic side was denouncing people who said the world was going to come to an end.
Okay.
And
that's called irony.
Because these people claim to be basing it mostly on biblical prophecies. There were some Russians who said that the world was going to end in May of 2008. There's a guy who did some radio shows and he wrote a couple of books. He said the Great Tribulation was going to happen in 2008, that the United States was going to be nuked in 2008.
Instead, his show was canceled that week.
Well, no, he was just a guest. He didn't have his own particular show, but he wrote a book that was pretty popular. It got very popular on the internet, and he's still out there.
What does this all have to do with the Mayan calendar and the aligning of all these things that go well beyond biblical and supposons? It's real science, isn't it?
Well, there is some science involved, and the science involved goes as follows. First of all, the Mayans were excellent astronomers. So there was some science behind their calculations as far as when how accurate their calendar was, and when it was to end. Actually, the reason people heard of 2012 originally wasn't because of disaster movies and series and specials on television. It was because people in the New Age movement believed that because the Mayan calendar ended then, because there was sort of a galactic alignment, because there were some writings from Tibetan sources, and because they hoped for peace, that what the Mayans actually are predicting is that a new age for humanity will dawn starting December 21st, 22nd, 2012. And that's actually the view. I saw John Cusack being interviewed. He's the star of the Sony 2012 movie, and he seems to go along with that kind of thing. And I saw another person interviewed, Adam Lambert, who does a song at the end of the movie, and he basically said that he believes sort of something along that line. And in my book, I actually cite New Age proponents that basically say that 2012 is going to be the dawn of the age of Aquarius.
Wow.
So,
you know, this whole 2012 thing with the movie and with all the interviews and so forth coming very popular. You know, we should do a whole show on 2012. Could you come back in a couple weeks and do another show with us and actually talk more specifically about 2012?
I would love to talk to you guys again about 2012.
Dr. Robert Teal, thank you very much.